Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video with Coding with Roby. And in this video of the Python Bootcamp, we're going to learn about imports. So modules get used all the time throughout programming. It helps with creating more files with unique purposes to help with clean, maintainable code. So as you can see, this file is called homework_grades.py, and I'll explain why I named it homeworkgrades.py in a little bit. So let's start by creating a dictionary variable called homework assignment grades. Which is equal to homework1 colon 85 homework2 colon 100 and homework3 colon 81. Let's create a new function called calculate homework. So def calculate homework, and as an argument, we'll pass in the homework assignment argument. We'll create a variable called sum of grades, which is equal to 0. And then we'll loop through the list argument we're passing in. So for homework and homework assignments argument dot values to get the values of all three homework assignments. We will then say sum of grades plus equal homework to add up all of the homework assignments. And then to find the average of all the grades, we can say final grade equals sum of grades divided by the length of homework assignments argument. And now let's finally print final grade. Let's now run the function calculate homeworks by calling the calculate homework function and passing in homework assignment grades as the argument. We'll get 88.6 repeating as the answer. Well, let's round 88.6 repeating to the second nearest decimal. To do this, we can use the round function. And now let's put the division problem inside the round method. Now, the round method needs a second argument saying how many decimals we want to round to, and we'll do comma 2. Now if we run the application, we'll get 88.67. What would we do if we wanted to add to this calculate homework method, or we wanted to separate this code to create more calculate homework assignments? Because let's say the values aren't the same and we just want more functionality and more functions. Now, if we keep the entire application in one file, this file can become messy. So I'm going to open up my project structure, and you can see, and within the imports directory, I have homework grades. Let's create a new file called grade average service, and let's move this function over to grade average service. We are now starting to separate the code into more maintainable chunks of code. So files now have a clear reason to what they are responsible for doing. Well, now we can use the import. So we can import functionality from a different Python file to use within this specific Python file. So we have to do import, which is the command, and now it starts at the directory. So imports is the directory I'm in, dot grade average service. That's the file name. So let's import, starting at the directory, which is imports, now the file, so dot grade average service. We now can call that specific function by passing in imports.gradeAverageService dot the function we're calling, which is calculate homework. We now can pass in our homework assignments grade, and we'll get the exact same response as if the function was in this specific file. So again, we are importing the functionality of a different Python file into the specific Python file we want. Now, the name imports.gradeAverageService is kind of long to be using within the file. So we can use the as functionality to change the name of the import we're using within our file. So let's change imports.gradeAverageService to gradeService within our file. Now we can just do gradeService.calculateHomework and pass in the argument, which will now call the function within gradeAverageService file, which is the calculate homework functionality. Now I'm going to create another file just to go over the standard library. Now, Python comes with many additional modules that we can use in our Python application whenever we would like. We just need to import that functionality. So let's start with the random module that we can import into our application. Let's start by typing import random. We'll create a list, types of drinks, which is equal to soda, coffee, water, and tea. Now, random that we imported comes with a lot of useful methods. So we can do random.choice and then pass in types of drinks. If we run this application, we'll get a random element from types of drinks each time the application is ran. We can also use the random int functionality by doing print random.randint, and we can pass in the numbers we would like to be random as the response. So if we pass in 1 and 10, we'll get a random number between 1 and 10 each time this application is ran. If we remove import random, you can see we get an error because random is no longer functionality within this file. Now there's a whole bunch of standard modules we can pass in, so we'll go over some of the key ones, which is random and math. So let's import math, and now we can use functionality like square root. So we can say square root equals math dot sqrt, which stands for square root. We can pass in 64. If we print square root, we'll get 8 as a response because 8 is the square root of 64. Again, there's so much functionality you can pass in, so I highly recommend looking at the documentation of the standard library within Python to see all the available modules that you can use by importing it into your application. So to recap, importing means you are importing functionality from a different Python file to use within your specific Python file/application. We did this by creating a different Python file that only holds the calculate homework functionality. And then within the homeworks grades file, we imported the functionality of calculate homework to use within our own application. This concludes importing, and I'll see you in the next lecture.